Well, good morning, everyone. Self-reliant old lady here. Today, I'm looking ahead to the spring when I have to replace the steps to the back of this little cabin I have. And so, what I'm going to do today is just paint these steps ahead of time. Actually, I'm putting a solid stain on them so that to protect the wood. And I find it a lot easier to just go ahead and do it now before I build. Then I don't have to crawl under everything and I can really seal the wood. This will be the first coat just to do a protection. I'll come along later after this dries real well to put a second coat on. It's too cold to work outside. The garage is warmer, so I believe that, I'll have no trouble with the paint or the stain. I keep saying paint when it's really a stain. I got this stain at my local big box store, Lowe's. That was the first big box store that came to my location, and so I tend to go there just out of habit. And because I don't have to saw this is the exact size I need. It might be a ½ inch overhanging or an inch, and that's okay on the one side. I'm okay with that. So it sort of worked out well, so I don't have to hoist it up onto my saw and saw it. Well, good morning, my self-reliant peeps. Today it's going to be 80 degrees. Boy, in April they just go up and down the different temperatures, but today's going to be 80. And I'm going to work on the pool steps in the back. So let's get going. I find the best way when you have paint in the screws is to take a torch and then just heat up the top of that screw . And up comes the screw. Works like a charm. I don't like the space between the wall and the steps. I measured wrong last year. So what I'm doing is just changing. I'd rather err on the side of caution. And so what I'm doing is just removing these and putting new boards on that will go right up against here. I'm afraid when little kids come, they usually always come in the back door with their things, and I just don't want a little one falling through there. So again, that's all I'm doing here, and the other ones will be replaced. And when we do that, I'll show you why I'm replacing. Trip to the garage. It's time to get a grinder. The angle of the screws was right under the railing, and the last thing I wanted to do was take that railing off. So the last two screws I just popped the board with a crowbar. So that was number 2 trip to the garage. Number 3 is to get a grinder to get those screws cut off at the base of the board. All right, that's good. with this job than I was with when I did it last year. Last year I don't know why I put 4 supports in here, but 2 of them were crooked. They looked funny. It was stable, but I looked at it all summer. I didn't like it. I thought about it all winter, and I decided that I was going to do it right. I also didn't like the big gap that was here. Like I said before, I was afraid little ones would fall through. Their foot would go through. And at any rate, oh, that was a mess right here. Okay. That was a big mess over there. I guess I'll have to fix that. So that's all I know. Much happier, you know, I guess do it the right way the first time, because it sure was a lot harder getting these, the old steps off, rather than putting the new ones on. So let's clean up and then I'll cut grass.